The events of the last month have left me in complete turmoil. My ex-girlfriend, Julie, insists that my current girlfriend, Mindy, is the one responsible for ending our 4-year relationship. The whole situation has me feeling utterly confused. I'm 28, and never imagined I'd be caught up in something like this. Julie, 29, believes Mindy, 28, manipulated her into breaking up with me. It's hard to wrap my head around, especially since Julie and I had been in a loving, stable relationship for 4 years. Our connection was strong. We met through mutual friends and quickly bonded over our shared love of the outdoors and running. Our lifestyles were in sync, and we supported each other in everything. For the past 3 years, we even lived together. We often talked about the future, even marriage. I had been planning to propose to her over the holidays. Things were perfect, until they weren't. In September, I started to notice subtle changes in Julie's behavior. She became distant, stressed, and seemed different. It didn't make sense to me at first. I trusted her completely, and the idea of her being unfaithful seemed impossible. But she started spending more time alone, and that's when things took a turn. Around the same time, Mindy reached out to me privately. She asked to meet, saying she had something important to share about Julie. Mindy and Julie worked together, and I'd known her ever since Julie and I started dating. I was taken aback but decided to meet her, unsure of what to expect. When we sat down at a cafe, Mindy wasted no time. She told me Julie had confided in her, saying she was planning to leave me soon. I was shocked, completely blindsided. I asked if there was someone else, but Mindy assured me there wasn't. She said Julie was unsure about marrying me, and she just had to let me know so I wouldn't be caught off guard. My heart sank. In response, I threw myself into making our relationship more exciting, planning special dates and activities, hoping to reconnect. Mindy continued to support me, even helping me through the emotional strain, giving me insight into what Julie had confided in her. As Thanksgiving approached, Julie dropped a bombshell. She loved me, but needed a month to live on her own to figure out if she wanted to marry me. I was crushed. I tried to understand, asking her if she was interested in someone else. She swore she wasn't, but said she just needed space. She wanted to make sure her decision wasn't just based on comfort but on real love. It didn't make sense to me. I told her if she wasn't sure after 4 years, maybe it was time to break up. That led to a big fight, and a few days later, we parted ways. Our lease was ending, so Julie got a new apartment, and I kept ours, removing her name from the lease. The breakup hit me hard. I was lonely, not used to being alone in that apartment. So, I decided to host a New Year's party, inviting friends to help me through it. I also invited Mindy, who had been my emotional support through all of this. We had a good time, but as the night went on, it was clear Mindy was there for more than just a good time. Mindy stayed behind to help me clean up, and that's when things took a turn. We ended up hooking up. It felt wrong, but I couldn't deny the comfort she brought me after everything I had been through. Since then, we've been spending a lot of time together. I'm still not over Julie, but I can't lie, being with Mindy makes me feel happy. She's sweet, caring, and understanding, qualities that help me heal. Then, last Sunday, everything exploded. I woke up to someone banging on my door. When I opened it, there stood Julie, furious. She started yelling at me, accusing me of cheating on her. I was taken aback. I told her I hadn't cheated, reminding her that she was the one who broke up with me. But she wasn't done. She started berating Mindy, calling her manipulative, claiming Mindy had been the one to plant the idea in Julie's head that she needed time away from me. I tried to calm Julie down and get her to explain herself, but the accusations kept coming. Julie said that ever since our conversation about marriage, Mindy had been questioning her decision. Mindy had supposedly suggested that Julie take time away to figure out her feelings, saying that I wouldn't be understanding enough to give her space. Julie then claimed that Mindy convinced her to break up with me, painting me as controlling. But Mindy denied it, insisting Julie had made the decisions on her own. She just provided support and made sure I had a chance to fix things. This infuriated Julie even more, and she accused me of emotionally cheating on her. The conversation turned into a whirlwind of emotions. Julie admitted that, in hindsight, she realized we were meant to be together, but she couldn't believe I had moved on so quickly after our 4-year relationship ended. Part of me wants to believe Julie, but at the same time, I can't forget that she ended things with me. Mindy was there for me when I was at my lowest, and now I'm questioning her motives. She and I were never close before, yet she suddenly became my rock after the breakup, even though Julie was her close friend. Am I the bad guy for emotionally cheating on Julie? Should I have been upfront about Mindy's messages? Was it wrong for me to move on so quickly, even though Julie was the one who ended things? I just want some clarity. I need advice from someone who can look at this situation with a clear mind. What's really going on here? Mindy had wanted to meet me in person or at least talk to me over the phone, but I wasn't having it. I needed everything in writing. She messaged me, claiming that Julie had always said such wonderful things about me over the years. When Julie told her about our plans to get married in 2024, Mindy was happy for us both. But soon, things started to shift. Julie confided in her, saying she had cold feet, unsure about marrying me, and that the problems in her parents' marriage were making her question everything. Then came the day Julie told Mindy she wanted a break. She wasn't sure of her feelings for me anymore. That was when Mindy stepped in, feeling bad for me because by then, we had already shared our engagement plans with our families. After our fight, Mindy said that Julie was completely devastated and told her she would never marry me. The only reason Julie came back, according to Mindy, was because she heard I was moving on. Apparently, Julie was jealous. Mindy also said I was a good guy and that hopefully, I could see what we had was something special. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded and told her I needed time. Every day, I kept messaging Julie, hoping for at least a small response, terrified she might have blocked me for good. And then, on Friday afternoon, I finally got a reply. She said she wanted to meet me, and that she would come by our apartment on Saturday afternoon. I spent the whole night cleaning up, feeling a weight of guilt settling deep inside me. The moment she walked in, I could tell something was off. She was a shell of her former self, completely broken. I sat on the sofa, but she chose to sit far away from me. We exchanged empty pleasantries about how we were both doing, but it was obvious neither of us was all right. I started to apologize, but she stopped me. "Let me finish," she said, "and don't interrupt." She pulled out a little notebook and began reading aloud the things she had written down, things she needed to say to me, things that had been eating at her. She told me she loved me, truly, but after we started talking about marriage, fear took hold of her. She thought it was normal to be scared and that the fear would fade. But it never did. Instead, it ate her up inside. She regretted talking to Mindy about it all, but she needed me to know the truth directly, not through secondhand information. She told me her parents' marriage had been a constant struggle. They stayed together until her mom's passing in 2021, but their arguments were endless, and Julie always felt her mother didn't really love her father. Her mom was so dependent on him that he didn't treat her well in return. Julie didn't want to end up like that. She had always feared she would, but when we started living together, she began to notice similar patterns in our relationship. She mentioned how when we first met, Julie had a significant amount of credit card debt and struggled to manage her finances. I helped her sort it all out, even though we kept our finances separate. I ended up managing all of her investments and bills because she didn't want to the point where she didn't even know where her own money was. She also talked about how we always enjoy cooking nice meals together, but whenever I worked late, she'd lose all motivation and end up eating cheese and crackers like a child. In the 4 years we'd been together, I'd never told her no when it came to buying anything she wanted. She felt like I was coddling her, and she had gotten too comfortable with the luxuries I provided. She'd talked about this with Mindy, who had just listened at first, but then, in September, Mindy told her about one of her cousins who had gone through something similar. The cousin had taken a break from her fiancé, and within a week, she realized how much she missed him and knew she never had doubts again. When Julie asked for a break, she just wanted to live with her best friend for a few weeks to see if she was too codependent on me. She knew I was planning to propose during our Christmas trip to my parents' house, and when I told her she couldn't take a break, she completely freaked out. She broke up with me, terrified of committing without knowing for sure that we wouldn't end up like her parents. Then she asked me when I started meeting Mindy and how many times we met. I opened up my messages with Mindy and handed her my phone. I told her the truth. Mindy and I had only met once in September, when she told me Julie wanted to break up because she wasn't happy in our relationship. I had already noticed Julie pulling away, but whenever I asked, she just said, "I'm fine, we're fine." My insecurities got the better of me, and instead of giving her space, I tried to hold on tighter, planning more expensive dates, trying to spend more time at home. But when Julie asked for a break, I mistook it for the final step before the breakup. I broke down, fought with her, and that led to the breakup and her moving out. At that point, Julie's voice started to crack. She asked me when Mindy had contacted me after the breakup. I pointed to the messages, explaining that Mindy started by sending memes to cheer me up, and I'd respond with a thumbs up or a simple thanks. But soon, the messages became more frequent, and she started offering to talk if I needed help. She asked what I was doing for Christmas and New Year's, and when I told her I was inviting a few friends over, she told me she didn't have any plans for New Year's. I invited her to join us. But before I could go into more detail, Julie cut me off. "I don't need to hear the details," she said. She paused and then continued. After she moved out following our fight, she initially thought she wasn't ready to get married to me. She spent 2 weeks with her friend and then moved into her new apartment in January. But things didn't go as she expected. She was miserable. She missed me terribly. The loneliness was unbearable. Within a week, she couldn't stand being in that apartment by herself. Her best friend was now staying with her, and that's when she realized she couldn't live without me. She asked one of our mutual friends about me on Saturday, and that's when she heard about the party. She found out Mindy was there, and something didn't sit right with her. Why would Mindy be there? Julie was overwhelmed, consumed by a whirlwind of emotions. The day she saw Mindy in our apartment, everything came crashing down. Her mind immediately raced, and she concluded that Mindy and I must have been having an affair. She couldn't shake the feeling that Mindy had somehow played a role in driving us apart, constantly whispering doubts into Julie's ear about our future together. When Julie saw Mindy in the very space that once felt like home, she broke down completely. But then, when she learned the truth, that Mindy had been telling me the opposite of what she was telling her, something shifted in her. She felt a pang of realization, as if the blinders had been pulled off. How could she have let everything slip away without confronting me, without trying to talk through the storm first? It hurt her deeply to see me with Mindy, but even more than that, she couldn't stand the thought of losing me. She called herself an idiot, over and over, regretting her silence and the way she handled everything. I reached out to her, hoping for some kind of closeness, but when I tried to hug her, she pulled away. She needed answers. She needed to know if I still wanted to be with her. I didn't hesitate for a second. "I would give anything to have you back," I told her, desperate to make things right. The words hung in the air, full of raw sincerity. Julie, still hurting but holding on, said she was willing to put the past behind her. But there were conditions, things we both needed to address before moving forward. The first one was clear: no more Mindy. She wanted me to block her, completely sever ties, and never contact her again. If I ever saw Mindy again, I was to act like she didn't exist. I was on board with that. It made sense to me, and it was something I could do without hesitation. The second condition, therapy. Julie had already signed up for individual therapy, and she wanted us to do couples therapy as well. We needed to sit down, honestly and openly, and work through everything we were both feeling. We couldn't keep letting things fester beneath the surface. I agreed to this too, knowing it would be the only way to get back to a place of trust. The final condition? Forget the past month. The break, the fights, the mistakes, it had to be erased from our minds as though it were a bad dream. And if I ever joked about we were on a break, well, she'd punch me in the face. That last part made us both laugh, a welcome break from the tension that had been suffocating us. I then asked her about Mindy. What was she going to do about her? They worked together, after all. Julie's eyes sparkled with a mix of determination and satisfaction. The best punishment, she said, was knowing that Mindy hadn't succeeded in breaking us apart. She wanted Mindy to see how happy we were together. Julie even had a plan: flaunt the engagement ring. She wanted to wear it proudly in front of Mindy, to show her what she couldn't tear down. I couldn't help but feel a surge of relief. There was hope, a chance for us to rebuild what had almost been destroyed. The evening unfolded peacefully. We ordered dinner, settled in, and lost ourselves in reruns of Top Chef, cuddling on the couch like we used to. It felt almost normal again. The comfort of her presence, the closeness, it was all so familiar. The next morning, we began discussing the future. I wanted her to move back into our old apartment, to return to what we knew. But Julie had a different vision. She wanted a fresh start, a new place. She asked if I was willing to move into her new apartment. It was smaller, in a less desirable neighborhood, but if it meant we could begin again, I was willing to consider it. We'd figure it out together. There was still the issue of 2 12-month leases, though. The logistics of how to make it work, how to break one lease and transition into the new apartment, would be something we'd have to tackle. But that was a problem for later. After lunch, Julie went to her new place to grab some things for the week. As I write this, I can't help but feel incredibly lucky. I almost lost her, and I can hardly believe I didn't. Despite all my mistakes and the hurt I caused, we still have a chance. There's still hope for us. I'm determined to make things right and work through the issues that nearly tore us apart. The past month feels like a nightmare, but I'm trying to see it as a small bump on the road to our perfect relationship. But there's one thing I'm struggling with. How do I address the issue of Julie feeling coddled? She feels like I've made her too dependent on me, and it's something I need to work on, especially in couples therapy. I know it's not just about me, it's something she needs to work on too. I'm hoping that with time, patience, and the right therapy, we can both find a way to balance our relationship. I've been getting messages from people checking in on my health over the past few days, offering helplines and support. I'm grateful, truly. But I'm a marathon runner, and I don't give up that easily. I'll keep pushing through. Relevant comments. Comment 1, so what happened to Mindy? OPE, no idea. As far as I'm concerned, she doesn't exist anymore. Comment 2, so it was Mindy who suggested to Julie to take the break? OPE, yes. Mindy told Julie that she should take a break, and at the same time, she told me Julie wanted to break up because she wasn't happy with me. I thought taking a break meant she was moving away for good. Comment 3, I don't know how you can make someone who can't even stay alone in her apartment less codependent. She needs her own therapist for that. OPE, yes, she's looking for one now. I've been in therapy too, and I know it takes time to find the right fit. At least we've talked about the issue now, so it'll be easier for us to recognize the signs and work on them together. New update. A few months ago, I posted about breaking up with Julie after she asked for a break, and I ended up hooking up with her friend Mindy. It turns out that Mindy was the one who encouraged Julie to take the break in the first place. She befriended me and even warned me about Julie's intentions. The past few weeks felt like a blur of chaos, a crushing roller coaster of emotions. But somehow, Julie and I managed to find our way back to each other. We reconciled. The storm passed. I know many of you have been waiting for an update, and now feels like the right time to share what's happened since then. After everything, Julie told me she wanted to move on from it all. She wanted to put it behind us and rebuild. But I could feel it. Her heart was still heavy with the pain my actions had caused. I knew it was going to take time, so I made a conscious effort to give her space, no love bombing, no overwhelming her with affection. That's how we got here in the first place, right? Julie broke down after seeing Mindy at our apartment. It shattered her. Her panic attack that week was raw. It was a wake-up call for both of us. She reached out to an online therapist and started sessions every week, trying to piece herself back together. We began searching for couples counseling, and nearly a month passed before we could finally sit down with someone. It was a long wait, but we both agreed to put our marriage plans on hold. I couldn't help but feel optimistic, despite all the hurt. Still, I couldn't ignore the strain in her eyes, the invisible weight she carried, a weight I had placed there. The first counseling session was eye-opening. We were raw. We laid everything out on the table, our relationship, our mistakes, the pain. Julie admitted to holding everything inside, afraid to burden me. She apologized for the mess, for not being open about her feelings earlier. She was scared. I felt the same. I apologized for everything, too. At one point, we even found ourselves in this strange, almost comical battle, trying to outdo each other in taking blame. Who could carry the most guilt? There were tears, so many tears. But something shifted. That moment was healing. The counselor recognized the love we shared. She saw it. We both did. She encouraged us to take baby steps, small, deliberate steps toward honest conversations. She gave us exercises to practice at home, to slowly break down the walls between us. When we left her office that day, something inside me solidified. I knew, without a doubt, that I wanted to spend my life with Julie. I told her that. And she, too, confessed she couldn't picture a life without me. We made a decision that day. We would continue with our wedding plans. But Mindy wasn't done. She tried to reach me multiple times, messages, calls. Julie shut it all down. Blocked her everywhere. Mindy went further, though, reaching out to Julie, sending her vile, hurtful messages. But the worst came 15 days later, when Mindy began posting pictures of us, intimate, yet non-nude, on Instagram. Every single day. It cut Julie deep. Those photos felt like salt on an open wound. Julie didn't hesitate. She reported Mindy to HR, and within a week, Mindy was transferred to another department. But the damage had been done. We had to explain the situation to family and friends, and I'm pretty sure I won the Idiot of the Year award. My sister might challenge me for it, but I'm holding the crown for now. The drama lasted a month, 1 month of hell. Then, Mindy vanished. We never heard from her again. It was like a dark chapter that closed. Julie has continued her therapy, working through her issues with codependency, and it turns out, her mother's sudden death might have deepened those struggles. It wasn't easy. I've been trying to support her, helping her open up about our finances, trying to get her involved, but it's like she recoils at the topic. Money talks? Not her thing. But we're getting there. I was able to break the lease on Julie's apartment by paying a penalty, and we stayed in our old place. But Julie was ready for a fresh start, a clean slate. She didn't want to stay there, not with the memories of everything that had happened. A few months ago, we found a single-family home in a nice suburb. It's ours now, and in May, we moved in. The codependency issue? It's not fully resolved yet. I know it's still lingering beneath the surface, but I'm here for her, always. We'll work through it together. And now, the main update. Last Saturday, Julie and I got married. The ceremony was intimate, held at my father's country club, surrounded by family and friends. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of. I wish I could show you pictures of Julie in her wedding dress. She looked absolutely breathtaking. We're about to leave for our honeymoon next week, and I couldn't be happier. All the pain, all the heartache, it's behind us now. And in 25 years, when we look back at this chapter, I know we'll see it for what it was, a tiny blip in the otherwise perfect life we've built together. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Looks like a happy update after all. Just make sure you both keep communicating about anything on your minds. And don't hesitate to go back to counseling if needed. Up! Thanks! We actually attended 2 more sessions of couples counseling, and it was really helpful. We talked through expectations and got a better understanding of each other. Not everyone needs counseling, but I'd recommend it to any couple about to marry. Comment 2. I'm sorry, how are you the idiot here? She was the one who listened to her friend, right? And now you're fighting for her? Up! I feel like an idiot because I rushed into something with someone else before giving myself the time I needed to process what was happening. Julie and I had been together for 4 years, and I almost threw it all away in just 2 weeks. I know I messed up. If you read the first post and all the comments, you'd see why I'm hard on myself here. Oh, and my sister? She's a mess, so I'm sure she'll outdo me in stupidity before the year ends. But hey, I'll never win that Idiot of the Year award while she's around.